Hey everybody, it's Eric Pappenfoos. It's Friday, so it must be a bye day. And Kathy and I are still down here in West Virginia, almost having enjoying the beautiful historic town of Charlestown. I'm going to take you on a Charlestown walking tour, and we're going to show you how we approach every new city we visit, which is we're going to find the local bookstore, we're going to find the local coffee shop, and we're going to find some great historic sites and talk about some amazing books we hopefully will purchase. Now we're starting here because this is our inn. We had a lovely stay here at the Rutherford House. And let me walk you down the front steps to the historic marker out front and tell you a little bit about Mr. Rutherford. Rutherford is famous because he was the foreman of the jury which convicted John Brown of treason. And then his house, which was the finest house in town, became the seat for the various generals that occupied Charleston, both for the Union and the Confederacy during the Civil War. Now, we're in that part of West Virginia that is closest to the border with Virginia and Maryland, so this was a highly contested area and constantly went back and forth between Confederate and Union hands. So this is one of the few houses, Kathy, that housed both Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant at various times during the war, which is really cool. And you can see on the historic marker a famous image of Sheridan meeting Grant here right on the front porch of the house, which
So
appeared,
neat.
I think, in Frank Leslie's newspaper. Now, one interesting thing is that Rutherford himself was really a closet Confederate. He had a hidden Stonewall Jackson flag under the hearthstone, which if it ever had been discovered, the house probably would have been burned. But he managed to politically survive as the house changed hands. Other houses were burned. This was an incredibly important area because it was considered the sort of gateway to the breadbasket of the Confederacy here in the Shenandoah Valley. That's right, we're right near the Shenandoah River, as John Denver sings. And this is an amazingly exciting town. So let me take you on a little bit of a walking tour. We'll start here on the main street, and I will say that if you were here back during Civil War times, you would have seen all of General Lee's army marching up and down the street on their way to Gettysburg. And that would have been quite a sight to see. It's recounted in the young Rutherford's young son's journal, which we also got to read while we're staying here. All right, see you at the bookstore. Okay, we've just had an amazing time at Fuzzy Dog Books here in Charlestown, West Virginia. Fuzzy Dog is a wonderfully operated store, 3 stores of books and records. It's made a great impression. I'm going to show you 2 books before we go in and meet the owner. First of all, here's the most valuable book that I found. It was a surprise. It is a copy of Fires of Heaven, which is book 5 from the Wheel of Time series, and it is inscribed by Robert Jordan.
Neat.
Which is harder and harder to find these days. And that's really cool. In this case, it's nice to have the inscription, shows you that it is a real autograph. And the most obscure book, I always do this at bookstores. I'm always looking for either something funny or something really obscure. This is a good one, Kathy. This, for the low price of $5, is a history of human helminthology. And do you know what that is?
I did not.
Well, this is the study of parasitic worms. The history and the study of parasitic worms, like tapeworms, inside
see that.
human bodies over the course of the last 500 years. A true scholarly book published by a very important person in South Australia. I've never seen anything quite like that. And who doesn't need that? And the scholar will soon have that.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to go in and we're going to meet Sarah, who is the proprietor of Fuzzy Dog Books. So you ready? Come on in.
Absolutely.
Now they sell new and used books as well as records. And you can just sort of see the new books and the beautiful ambiance. You can see the
charming
stairwell that goes up to a full 3 floors of books with fiction and reference and cooking and all sorts of great things. And you can hear the vinyl playing in the background because they've got a record player allowing you to test out some of the amazing things.
That's wonderful.
And I was saying, this is Sarah, and we have a limited amount of vinyl, but you guys have gone a lot.
It's inspiring.
How many LPs would you say you have?
I don't know if it'd be in the tens of thousands.
Okay.
Probably up there, up to about 10,000.
Not quite as many as books, but a lot, and a whole room devoted to it. So, what do you find sells better or draws more people in? Is it the books or the records?
So I would say that that's pretty even.
Okay.
The new records have been definitely picking up a lot more around the holidays here over our new books, but our used books have consistently been our top seller.
Yeah, and that's of course how we started. And I think we're seeing a few more and more records. Our son, who is 16, our youngest son, that's what he wanted.
Yep.
So you know that
we hear that a lot.
But we love the bookstore. How long have you been around, and what do you find most fulfilling about running a used bookstore and record store?
So we have been in town here for going on 6 years.
Wow.
And it was a great place to get set up. We started down on a side street with just 2 little rooms, moved to this location, been in this location for about 3 years. And it's been just over that amount of time. What has been great is honestly building community here as well as unexpected visitors. We love meeting people that come by to visit, and all the best people find us. I swear, I love it.
Well, that's the thing about used bookstore. You can tell a lot about the town and the community and neighborhood. People are all here with sort of common mission, which is to engage deeply in whatever the issues are. I really like I like the ambiance of the building. Do you know anything about the history of the building?
So it was built in 1797.
Another
That's fabulous.
structure,
Yes. So the floors are all original.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's been really well maintained over the years. There have been some really judicious owners of the building, and it's been great. So I'm glad to be the next in the line of that, kind of helping to take care of it, uphold the history of the area.
That's one of the nice things about Charlestown from our perspective is so much beautiful architecture, well preserved. And
I know you saw Courthouse.
Yeah, this is amazing, and thank you so much. And you have really late hours. You're up until 7 almost every day.
Yes,
right?
We're trying to kind of push that a little bit. I mean, there's some other places in town as well that are kind of trying to push that direction, and I feel like that adds so much to just the walkability and being able to get out and just on a whim go do something.
All right. Well, that's great. We're going to continue on our walking tour of Charlestown, but thanks for taking a moment. We love the store. I hope you'll come and visit. Hey, everybody. We are now at the Jefferson County Courthouse, which we found an amazing pamphlet for at Fuzzy Dog Books, and is particularly famous because it hosted not one, but 2 treason trials, Kathy. The first being the trial of John Brown, for which Mr. Rutherford was in charge. It's said that at the time you could either come here and see the trial of John Brown, or if you were a little bored, you could go across the way to right next to where Fuzzy Dog Books is, and you could see a young actor perform Shakespeare. That would be your evening entertainment. You know who that young actor was?
Who?
That was John Wilkes Booth.
Oh, wow.
And that happened during the trial.
Wow.
And I think we all know that John Brown was found guilty of treason. We're going to Harper's Ferry next. We won't take you there with us, but he was found guilty and he was hanged. And the site where he was executed is also right across the way here. It was an amazing trial, but what's even more interesting is that John Brown was tried for treason against the Commonwealth of Virginia. In the 1920s, there was a treason trial as well against the miners that were striking in West Virginia, and they were tried for treason against West Virginia. Wow. And that's because this area had become West Virginia and became West Virginia in the middle of the Civil War. And it's an interesting story because West Virginia actually seceded from Virginia during the Civil War using the same principles of secession that Virginia used. And when it did, this county, Jefferson County, this pivotal linchpin county, was not included, but the United States at the time decided to include it. So we just basically, it was under Union control at the time. We just took Jefferson County as part of West Virginia, and then there was a lawsuit after the fact. But eventually it became West Virginia, and the miners' strikes of the 20s, I read about, and I got this book yesterday at Fuzzy Dog, so I don't want you to think that I read all this in the last 20 minutes, but I read this fascinating book by the historian Stephen Stoll about Rand Paul, The Ordeal of Appalachia. It talks not just about the miners' strike, but really about the process of industrialization in coal and everything else that came to the mountains here. This was a pivotal county as well because this is where the C&O Canal is. This is where the B&O Railroad is, which connects us to the Ohio River. And it was critical for transportation. But At the time, I think it was a 93-year-old Mother Jones who came out of retirement to defend the miners.
Wow.
Several of the miners were eventually convicted of treason for simply fighting back against the coal barons of the day, and they were convicted here, but they were eventually pardoned by the governor. Pretty interesting story. And we are going to end our walking tour of Charleston with a funny book. Now, I found some exciting half-price Christmas books, didn't I, Kathy?
Absolutely.
But I'm saving them for next Christmas. Today's funny book is the book that I really needed because it explains how West Virginia got its shape, how all the states got their shape, but especially West Virginia. Let's get our map out. Let's turn to this page. Now, I told you we're in this little part of West Virginia here, but it answers all the important questions like, why does West Virginia have that skinny little part crawling up the side of Pennsylvania? Why does it have the other weird thing coming underneath Maryland? That's where we are. And wouldn't it be better if that Western Triangle of Maryland was part of West Virginia? And how come there's no East Virginia? Have you ever asked yourself that, having come from East Virginia? Well, the answer to all these questions can be found here, but let's just suffice it to say it has to do with a long history of secession, of rivers, of transportation networks, and everything else. You should read about it when you come to Charlestown. Now, I told you the first place we go in any town is a bookstore. That tells you all you need to know about
Absolutely.
the town. The second place we're going, and the place we're going next, is the coffee shop. And we'll have a nice little break before we head on to Harper's Ferry. I hope you enjoyed this little tour and some of the books that we got here in Charlestown. I hope you'll watch next Friday and every Friday at noon for more adventures in the world of books.